Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually, he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now.
Hello and welcome everyone. So we are here on third innings today and Australia have just won a thriller by 3 wickets and an over to spare. I mean, it probably didn't feel like a thriller at one point. It felt like Australia would coast through pretty comfortably after the start that they had. But then India did a decent enough job pulling it back, right? What did you think of that?
I think you forgot to say who you were and I am in the introduction. But other than that, I thought it was great. Cheyenne here, Jared here. I think there's so many talking points from this game. So I think one of them is that if Mandana doesn't go really, really big, I just don't know if they can score at a rate that can put enough pressure on Australia. And she played a great innings, but she probably got out 30 runs earlier than they needed. The other thing is that if she's going that hard, you've then got 2 players around her who are not scoring particularly at that same rate. And so you lose some of the impact that you should get from that. And then again, at the end, it was just probably fall of wickets that caused a bit of a problem. Like they didn't see out their overs, right? Like their run rates of the players. So you have one situation where at the top, they're going a little bit slow, but they're still bowled out. So I don't know what the answer to that is. You go in with an extra batter. And then the other thing that we talked about, this is a very good game for my agenda. Yeah, my various agendas, right? So one of my agendas is that to beat Australia, Mandana basically needs to make 110, 120, right?
And at the rate that she does.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
120, 130 strike rate types.
Yeah. The other one is that Risha is someone who can score boundaries pretty much everywhere and can cause absolute havoc, which she was on her way to doing when that happened.
Yeah.
The other one is that Elise Perry is actually incredibly physically tough and overcomes an incredible amount, and she did that again today. And the last one is, if you want to beat Australia, you have to bowl them out. I don't think there's a backup plan. I just think if you don't bowl them out, it's almost impossible to beat them.
Ask Pakistan. I mean, they ran Australia pretty close, right? And then number 10 comes out and just scores a half century. Alana King.
Well, you look at them today. Like Talia McGrath comes out and she gets a short ball that she hits over mid-on off the seamer, right, straight away. And you're just like, they're going to keep coming. It's like England men's team, 2015, 2019, right? They're going to keep coming. And so if you don't bowl them out, I think there was a period of time where I wonder if this team's actually not quite as good as the peak Australian women's teams. It'd be fascinating actually to get people like Estelle and Raf on to have a really good chat about that. But I'm interested to know if people still think it's the peak. I think it's slightly maybe down on the peak, but they've done that so that they can have more all-rounders in the side so that it's very hard to lose on either side of the ball. So I understand that. But that other side, because it played a little bit within itself at times, I think gave you a chance, right? Like you could play it. Now it's just like, literally, if you want to beat us, you have to cut our head off. And it's so hard to do that because Alana King was in next. Like, is Megan Shute the only person who can't bat on this side?
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right? So
exactly.
It's just so hard to beat them. And so India was, massively in front, obviously, in times in that game. But, is this the bit where I throw you under the bus and say that at halftime you were like, is Australia going to be able to chase it?
You should go for it.
And I was like, I didn't see the message until the score was changed. But had I seen the message live, I would have been like, are you high? Like, of course they can chase this, right? And I think I was thinking because the wicket was really nice. I was thinking during the game, if India got 350 or 370, that makes it a little bit more interesting. But even then, I was still of the belief that if you don't bowl them out, they probably chase that down. And, maybe it's harder if they're 7 and 8 down. And we saw that with the old England side as well, the old England men's side. They were a bit similar. Sometimes you could at least put pressure back on them without bowling them out. But it's really hard to just beat them. I remember there was a game where Liam Plunkett came from nowhere and hits a 6 to tie the scores against Sri Lanka. And I remember watching that game just going, they were just gone, right? Like it's just not the way they play cricket. And This Australian women's team's exactly the same. They just keep pushing you into that position. So I think there's a lot of fascinating parts to this game.
Yeah. And I think we probably have to start with Alyssa Healey's innings, right? Like, so I did this analysis actually for Best of Cricket after the first game where she made, I think, a few runs, but she got out trying to attack. And so I went back, I looked at all of her dismissals. So she has now gone towards this more high intent attacking approach, so to say, right? She's not really getting those big runs anymore. But when you look at some of the best batters in the power play in terms of the speed, they're still getting that. And I think that's exactly what they need in this Australian team, right? When they're batting all the way down to number 9, number 10 even, they don't really need Healey to play this conservative brand of cricket where she can take her time and then build a long innings and all of that, because they have lots of players who can do that. I mean, Beth Mooney can do that, Perry can do that, Sutherland can do that, and she hasn't even made runs in this tournament. So that's the level. Gardner just made 100 when they were in trouble. So we know about the quality of players that they have. And so I think I found her approach really interesting. So for me in the power play in particular, what really stood out was she was attacking in so many different regions. It wasn't so it was so hard to plan for her. Like, she can pull the ball in that mid-wicket region, mid-wicket, mid-on types even. And of course she can score on the offside as well. So how do you even plan for such a batter, Jared? And combine that with Phoebe Litchfield, who is, you know how creative she is with the bat, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. Also, it's sort of, I wouldn't say Phoebe Litchfield is quite playing this way at the moment, but they've opened up the opportunity, right, to play again like that England side that we're talking about, and like I'm trying to think of another, maybe some of those old South African teams who didn't do this, by the way, but that ability to just go, well, your openers can do whatever they want here because it's almost free wickets. If they come off, you're so far ahead of the game. And if they don't, you've got so much depth that it doesn't matter. That realistically, I actually think Australian women have probably been a little bit, I wouldn't say slow, but a little bit more timid than they need to be, because this is the anti-Goldbust effect, right?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You've got, if you think about it from this perspective, not only do you have Alana King batting at 10, right?
Yeah.
And she would bat at what? 7 in some sides in this tournament, maybe 6 in some sides in this tournament, right? She's batting at 10. And you've got Elise Perry, who's not going to go out and is going to make something between 60 and 80 in almost every second innings, right? You have a freedom. And I think Alyssa Healey's always been at her best when she has that kind of freedom and she plays that kind of way. And, again, if we're talking about peaks, I don't know, where she is sort of from a peak perspective, but she has the ability to make 100 at such a fast rate that it can, break open a game. We could talk about how great their batting was today, but essentially they don't win this game without Alyssa Healey, right? Like, she's the difference between the two sides.
Exactly.
Even though everything else I talked about before was just as interesting, she's the actual difference here.
Yeah, 100%, I think. And as you mentioned, I think it might be her first 100 since that 2022 World Cup final. So this was the analysis that I noticed. She wasn't getting a lot of big runs. She was scoring fast and she was looking to attack right from the start. And
is that just in one day, is it?
Yeah, one day cricket. Yeah. I'll actually pull up those numbers because I have those.
No, you're right. So she played 9 games last year and 9 games the year before, and she had 250s in those.
Correct,
so she had a shocker in 2023 and a solid year last year. But this is where they have so much flexibility. Not only can they just replace it with someone else, even though she's the captain, right? Like, they'll just have someone else.
I feel like that might have freed her up more, no? She might be thinking that, okay, I'll just set the tone, I'll lead from the front and I'll show them how it's done.
Exactly. And that's the way I was looking at it, because she's so far into her career now. She's year 16, I think, right? And I mean, she's averaging 40 this year. A lot of that comes off this innings today. I'm assuming that's in there as well. But if you look at it all together, what you can do now is, the last couple of years, she's been knocking it around at strike rates of 80 and 90 and not making any runs, right? She doesn't need to do that. If I was working with the team, I'd almost go the other way and be like, if you average 30 for the next 2 years and you're still in the side to do other things, but you're striking at 115, that's actually what we want, which is, isn't that the modern Rohit role? Right? Of literally.
So that's actually who Tarutor and I talked about when we were doing the piece, that she seems to be adopting a similar style of play, actually. And I think the reason why her strike rates look a bit low is because she's not batting that long, right? But she's still creating impact in the power play. I think that is the key distinction that we really looked at. So she got out 16 times in the power play at the time I did that piece since that last World Cup. And 14 of those were from attacking shots. So you can see that This is a
She's
player
going
who's
for it,
clearly looking to play her shot. She's not really afraid of getting out. And so I feel like mostly because after Lanning has retired, she's now the captain, right? So she's the one who is showing the way, and she's doing so by attacking and not really taking up a more conservative batting role. So I'm happy
Yeah.
with her role, I think.
And, we've talked about this a lot, with Joe Root in Test cricket and Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Even Steve Smith, I suppose, at Test cricket. Like, major players now are making decisions for the betterment of the team, which was not traditionally how cricket was played. It wasn't always played as a team sport. And women's cricket is a little bit different, so you kind of expect it a little bit more in women's cricket. But the fact that she's doing that, it makes sense for the team. I don't know if her, I mean, to be honest, back in her peak, we take away her peak when she's averaging like 50 more than a run a ball. But
Exactly.
But
That is
but
2017
we're
to
not,
22.
we're not expecting that in year 16, right?
Yeah.
If she can get her strike rate up to 105, 110, 115 and average 30 to 35 in this particular side, because their anchor doesn't come into number 4. She came in number 3 today, Perry. But their anchor comes in lower, right? So it doesn't matter what they do. If you look at Elise Perry, she's basically doing, this is why a lot of reasons why I compare it to that English side. Elise Perry is basically doing the Joe Root role, right? Where they've moved the anchor position from the top order further on to like number 4. That gives you so much flexibility at the top to be like, well, if you stuff up, that's fine, because this player is going to knock the ball around for at least 20 overs anyway. We're not going to run out of time, and we've got this endless batting lineup. So everyone can keep hitting at the other end. So it's a really good structure. It's not just that they bat deep, because you can bat deep like the old South African men's teams, right? And be shit, right? And not be very good. And the reason is that the pieces don't match together. So you have to bat deep and then maximize it. And I think that's what we're seeing here with the Australian women's team. Even if, as we said, maybe Perry and Healey are no longer at the peaks that they used to be.
Yeah, I actually think Perry is batting pretty well, because I saw her batting quite closely in the WPL. I don't really think there's much of an issue. If anything, it feels like she started attacking more of late. She might also be one of those players whose T20 strike rate has gone up in recent times, if you go through the numbers.
No, it definitely has. Her T20 strike rate. I think she's probably a more dynamic white ball player than she used to be.
Exactly.
I don't think I disagree with that, but also don't think she's better than she used to be, if that makes sense. I think she's just maximizing her play a little bit more than she would have in the old, in the years gone by. She did get stuck quite a bit in her innings, and she would knock the ball quite around a bit. But if you look this year, 9 games at a strike rate of 79, it's fine. But last year, a strike rate was 87. The year before was 91. And then you have those years where she was around 60 and 70. So she went back up, and I just don't think she's the beast that she maybe her best time outside of that early period where she was phenomenal. No one could get her out. But maybe her best career period was kind of after she gets dropped from T20 and she comes back in ODI cricket. And she's averaging about 45, 50 at a high strike rate. At the moment, I don't think we can expect that from her. I mean, she's in year 18, 19. I don't know.
Yeah,
She
2007 debut.
Yeah, she started a year after WG Grace retired, if I'm not mistaken. So, she's been going for a long time. But again, that doesn't mean that you can't get something out of these players. And because they're also multifunctional players, right? They're not going to use Elise Perry's bowling very much. But if they get to a position where they have to, and look at that on the other side for India. If India get in trouble, it's like, can Harmanpreet bowl? Like that's literally what they're left with, right?
Yeah. I mean, that is such a big gulf, right? When you're comparing about the non-frontline bowlers. And it also tells us about, Perry doesn't bowl much, but then we see Sutherland stepping up, right? And she's really the difference in the first innings. I think her bowling was just fascinating to me. I've actually done a piece on that for Best of Cricket as well. So the thing really with her was that she's really good at bowling back of a length or shorter than that, but even her good length deliveries are very good. And even within that, her slower balls are so effective that people can't really pick those too well. And she has 2 slower balls even within that. So that is just really fascinating stuff that in one player, there is
I think
so
that's
much.
a really important thing, that she's got so many natural advantages as a bowler.
Yeah.
She's got a high release point to begin with, right? She's also just got a length where she's difficult to play. And, once you have that, I think that's a huge advantage as well. And then, as you said, she's got the double slow ball, and it's not like she has 2 slow balls and one's good and one's bad. They're both equally good in just in different ways. And she's also very accurate. I've said this
Exactly.
before. I've watched all the Sutherlands bowl in my life. She's by far the best bowling Sutherland that I've come
Yeah,
across. Um, but
definitely.
I think she's a really, really, a fantastic cricketer, and she doesn't have to bowl in every game, right? Look at this
Exactly.
game. Alana King, Alana King's played some brilliant games in this. I think they made a mistake with Alana King holding her back. I
Hmm.
actually thought that I would have just brought her on to see if she could get a wicket early on in that opening
Hmm.
partnership. But they hold her back because they can, right? Talia McGrath has
Yeah.
been hit a
She
couple of
came.
times in this tournament, right?
Yeah.
And they just yank her out of the attack, right? So they have that ability. And there's no way Perry was going to bowl today. Did you see Perry out in the field? Perry looked bad when she was
Yeah.
batting. She looked like death in the field. Honestly, I was like, oh my God, she looks about 10 years older than Charlotte Edwards at the moment, right? Like she just looked
Oh.
like really, really. Like, I've never looked at Perry and thought to myself, my God. But let's pretend it was a normal game. They still had Perry to bowl a couple of overs if they had to. Like the
Yeah.
flexibility there. Whereas India use 5 bowlers, they throw 1 over to Harmanpreet who gets hit for 10. Right now,
Yeah.
it worked better in the previous game. I know they lost the previous game. I actually think they underbowled Harmanpreet in the previous game. But
Yeah. You said that.
what's Harmanpreet? 4 overs a game at best case
Yeah.
scenario,
Not more than that. Yeah.
right?
I don't think she's going to bowl more than that. Yeah.
That's a I'd say that's more of an emergency sixth bowler than like a frontline sixth bowler. None of
Yeah.
those statements make sense. But again, it shows you the depth, right? Like Australia can legitimately go in with 8 bowling options. I think it's 8, isn't it? Yeah, 8 bowling options. What'd they do today?
Yeah. And bat till
They
10.
Yeah, and bat till 10. Like their
Yeah.
whole strategy is a cheat code, right?
Yeah. And with India, that is the trade-off that they're making, right? Like they're also batting till number 9, but then they can't play Renuka, who's one of their best bowlers, actually, if we just go by the numbers. And if you think about how, maybe if Renuka was playing this game, she is their best option to take early wickets, right? If she gets
Yeah.
Healy early on or maybe Litchfield, things could have been a lot different. But then India don't have that extra batting insurance. So will the openers play the same way, especially Smriti maybe?
And
I
they
haven't done the numbers, but surely
look at
she thinks the fact that they bat
yeah.
so deep so I can go harder.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at this, right? I think you've gotten onto something really interesting here. If you look at the last 2 games, the batting depth actually helps them. So in the South Africa game, the fact that they bat all the way down allows them to go as hard and as long as possible, right?
Yeah.
And eventually they make a total that they probably should have defended, right? At the very least, they were favourites at several times there, right? Fine. You and I are more than happy with that. So the batting has helped there, but also
Yeah.
when they were struggling with the ball, one more frontline bowler would have been really important. And you look at
Exactly.
it here, it's really easy to say, oh, they didn't need the tail, and the tail collapsed anyway. But one of the reasons that Risha and Jemima could, and was it Amanjot as well? Look
Yeah.
at their strike rates. They're batting
Exactly.
in that manner because they know there are players behind them, right?
Yeah.
So again, they've maximized that. You could argue that they should have made it to 50 overs today, so they could have batted slightly different. But they maximized that longer batting lineup to make a lot of runs in
Yeah.
both those games, one from a bad position, one from a good position. So it's not
Correct.
as if they're not using the batting. It's just that it's still not working. And I think that's one of the hardest things in sport is when you're like, actually, we designed the team to work this way. It has worked this way, but we've lost 2 games in a row. That's really, really tricky.
Yeah.
It's easier when you're just like, maybe we've just got this wrong. I'm not sure they have got it wrong, but at the same time, I'm not sure they can keep it going because I'm not sure they can beat the best teams this way. Whereas maybe if they have more bowling in the side or more strike bowling, specifically,
Exactly.
things change. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think, and because of the fact that India have a lot of these batters who can tend to bat a bit slow at times as well. So they have Pratika and they have Harleen. So we've done some analysis on this as well. Whenever they both bat together, it isn't always ideal for India in terms of the scoring rate. Although I think today it was good. Today they were showing more intent and they actually didn't really slow down in that period and they carried on. It was going well. It was actually the latter period, I think, that India didn't face 9 balls, right? Those 9 balls, things could have been a lot different, man. And I think that is where
7
they sort of
balls.
fizzled
7
out towards
balls.
the end. 7 balls, yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you see Sutherland was bowling those slower balls at the death, right? I think 3 or 4 wickets were from slower balls, actually. So, I mean, it's just fascinating stuff, really, to me that India and Australia are sort of structured in a similar way where they're both batting deep, but then Australia have the extra bowling options and they're still batting deeper. So, I mean, how do you beat them, man? Seriously.
I think we talked about this before that you really, I think you have to get a lot of early wickets, don't you? I don't think there's.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's other, because otherwise. So we were watching this, and I saw your message about Australia struggling, and I was like, the only way they struggle in this chase is if the wicket really gets slow and they start to pop the ball up a little bit, which we've seen them do. Their batters have such hard hands, right? Like that, the Pakistan game where they were just spooning the ball up in the air everywhere. Once the ball gets really slow, I think the Australian women do struggle at that point, right? But it's much easier to do that if you've already taken early wickets the way that Pakistan did, right? If you haven't taken early wickets, you are hoping for almost a terminal collapse, right? Or two pretty brutal collapses, right? You know, like 2, 3 or 4 wicket collapses.
Exactly.
The chances are you're not going to do that against a team of this quality, right? So the only other way is to get early wickets. I thought that if Elise Perry couldn't come back out, I think I said this, we were chatting on our WhatsApp at one stage. I said, if Elise Perry doesn't come back out, it means they're 4 down. You only need one more wicket here, and you can push it a little bit more. But and then I think a wicket happened, and I saw her with one pad on, and I was like, well, they're stuffed. Because she'll come back out, and even she'll score run a ball in a coma, right? Like, and everyone will just slog at the other end. So it really is about those early wickets. And it was, you look at some of these attacks, and I don't know how many women's attacks are set up at the moment to be dominant at the start of innings. And I think that's where you have to get them. And if you don't get them there, the rest of the game is it just gets away from you, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is what Behram and I was saying, right? This is the compromise that India have to make, because if they don't play Amanjot Kaur, they don't have that deep batting lineup. They bat till 8, which is still fine, but batting till 9 is a different level of luxury. And then they can have Renuka, who can take early wickets. But then, which way will India go? I mean, we've clearly seen that this is the route they've chosen. But what do you think against England, against New Zealand? What will be better for them?
They have to win the games, right?
No, I mean, should they bat deep or should they go for Renuka?
So they have to win games. So at the moment, wouldn't you argue, based on the last 2 games, that the batting hasn't won them the games?
Yeah, I mean, I think they batted well today. Against South Africa, it was not good because you can't expect that sort of a bailout all the time.
Yeah. I think if they got an extra 25 runs today, I'd be like, they could have won the game with the bat. Against South Africa, I think they got themselves into a great position. But again, they didn't win the game, right? So what's the point of having a strong number 9 and you've lost 2 games when you've actually had huge periods of the game where you've batted well? That would be my question, right? So at that point, I'd be like, okay, so what can we do? South Africa had an opening batter bat to what? To the 35th over or something? When was Wolfhard out?
Yeah, I think it was the 35th, 36th over. They needed another 100 or so runs.
So they got an early wicket. I'm trying to remember the wicket. Was who opened with Wolfhard?
Brits?
Yeah, wasn't that a bit of a lucky wicket, that one? I can't even remember what that one was.
Might be. Even I can't remember it off the top of my head. But
so here you've got an opener batting until the 39th over, right?
Yeah.
I think we're at a point in women's cricket where a lot of these players are very automatic with their runs. And I just think you have to, and more so against Australia than anyone else. But India's got a long batting lineup too. You kind of have to do it against India. You have to take wickets. I don't think that was the case a couple of years ago. I think there were containing bowlers and, it was ball played like that sort of 10-year ago men's ODIs. I think in women's cricket now, you have to get wickets. And I think they're too good because of the amount of T20 cricket they play. There are only 2 options. One is they collapse for 50 odd all out or whatever it was that South Africa did. Or they fight back and they make runs, which we've seen with Australia, India,
every team almost.
South Africa.
England last game.
Yeah, England. And that's the difference. I don't think we see that as much a couple of years ago. But now they're like, no, we'll keep backing ourselves. Yeah. We might have a all-out 55 or an all-out 72, right? That's fine, but we're going to back ourselves because we're used to hitting the ball hard. So that's the way I look at it at the moment. If that's the case, you need strike bowlers, right? Now, whether that is what they're bringing in or not, that you'd have to check for each team and each pitch and everything else. But you definitely need strike bowlers.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe India will consider playing Renuka in that case and think about, okay, maybe our batting depth hasn't worked the way it can. I mean, I know against South Africa, it did bail them out to quite an extent, but still, you can't always rely on that happening consistently. So maybe they just need their top order to make more runs. I think actually their openers, whenever they make runs consistently, that sets up a lot of things for India. And if India make a similar total against England, I think they should have a much better chance of winning, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I think that would be a much more defendable total against England, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with going up against Australia, it's just the multiple ways they can beat you, right? Like as in,
Yeah.
they can hang around, they can slog hard, they can break it at the top of the. Whereas I don't think England quite has as many options, right? England doesn't want to get too deep into their tail, right? They don't want to. England isn't like our number 10 is going to make 40, right?
Yeah.
It's not, Kim Garth would
They had
probably be
Eccleston at 9, I think, or 8. Was she
Yeah.
at 9? I think she was
And
at
she's
9.
fine.
Yeah. She
but
can hit a ball, but like she's not a
she's
main
not as
batter
good,
or anything.
she's not as good or bad as Kim Garth, is she?
No. Yeah. I
Right?
agree with you there.
And Garth's at 9, right?
Yeah.
So, Eccleston is actually, like in an international side, I think she's a good number 8, probably
Yeah.
a stretched number 7, and a really good number 9, right? That's probably the way I would look at it.
Fair.
But they've got a number 9 who could probably bat at number 6 for England, right? Like in Garth. Like the flexibility that they have there and everything else, I think is so different. So it's just, I just think I'd look for wickets. But the other way of doing it is being like, we've been in both these games and we could have won both these games, right? Like these, I wouldn't say they were coin toss games. Actually, I probably would say at various times these have both been coin toss games, right? It could have just gone the other way. And if it goes the other way, they win. And suddenly we look at it differently. Like we haven't even talked about Perry. What happens if Perry doesn't come back out? It's a very different game at that point, right? Like, Kim Garth has to make some pretty big decisions. Alana King's in to make runs again. Megan Shoot can't bat. Like, it's a very different thing. So, when you look at it from that perspective, I think it does show you that it could have gone the other way. So, I don't know, if I'm the Indian camp, that's what I'm trying to think. Which direction do I want to go in next?
Yeah. No, I think they'll probably do their homework, look at how the other teams are shaping up, pitches and everything, lots of other factors. It's good that India have options and they've definitely not played terribly. I mean, last game, I think you could argue they could have fielded much better and just that could have saved the game for them. But in this case, I think today it was fine. Today it was just that they were up against a stronger team. And, ultimately, because of the depth of batting that Australia had and the fact that India lacked that one frontline bowler because of the option that they went with, I think it was a fair enough game ultimately. And it ended up being close, right? It's not like Australia thrashed them or anything.
No, and I'd add one extra thing there, which I think is quite interesting that you're saying, is that you would have to say that they went within a couple of deliveries of winning this game, right? Like, I think that's fair to say. They weren't that far away from winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, 7 wickets is good, right? In that sense.
And also, if Perry doesn't come back out, who knows? So, if that's the case, and you've taken the best team that far, you might just be like, our plan's fine, we lost the game. And again, if I'm an analyst for this side, I'm probably still pushing my belief that we need to take more wickets, right? Generally, as an analyst, I'm pushing wickets more than anything else, right? Especially when you've got batting down to number 8, right? I'm not as worried about, batting down to number 9, right? I know it saved them in the other game, but I still would be less interested in that. But I would be saying, can we get more wickets into this side? And if we can get more wickets into this side, maybe that is the thing. Because we haven't even talked about it today, but Charani bowled really, really well. And this is the tournament of the left-arm finger spinners, right? She looked really good today. Maybe if she comes on and there's a little bit of extra wickets early on, it's, again, a slightly different situation. So that's my general point with this, is that they have to work out. And this is why, what do we say about World Cups? They're problem-solving. They've got a good side, and they've been, I would say, the 3 best teams, 3 of the 4 best teams we've seen of recent times have been South Africa, Australia, England, and India, right? Well, they've just played 2 of those teams, India. So it's easy to overreact, but also if you're going to win the tournament, that's who you got to beat, right? Like there's,
True.
It's not ideal, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think definitely it's not all over for them yet, especially their net run rate wouldn't be that affected, right? Because their 2 games have been fairly close-ish losses. And so if they can just build upon this, and they have to defeat England and New Zealand now, I think that's without question, they have to do that.
They don't have a safety net, right? That's the big thing.
They don't have that now. They have to win everything, I think. Yeah. 3 games left, they have to keep winning.
I think that's the most important one. They're definitely not out of it, but yeah, it does change quite a bit. So Australia's got 7 points from 4 matches. England's got 6 points from 3 matches. And then you've got India with 4 points from 4, South Africa with 4 points from 3. Don't get me started on the way they do these points tables. But and then New Zealand with 2 points from 3. So
Yeah.
Look, New Zealand's got a pretty easy run from here on in, but there's always a chance that they lose to Pakistan or Sri Lanka, right? They're not
But
playing.
one of their games is
particularly
India
great
as well, right? So that could be
That's the
interesting.
thing.
That is
So
the decider, maybe.
Well, but if you think about it from a points perspective, there is actually probably a way in, I would think, for India, even if they just win one of those games, is my point. Because they'll be on 6 points at that point, right? If they put it this way, if they just win the New Zealand game, and if New Zealand's lost another game, they're still in a really good position. I'm not saying that will happen, but it doesn't mean that they have to win those last 2 games. But again, if you're an analyst, you just say you have to win those 2 games. These are the sorts of things that you get asked by teams. And you have to be really, really clear. There can be no stuffing around. It's literally, we have to win these games. I remember doing this with Scotland. And the Scottish boys were like, can we get in otherwise? And I said, I can give you an answer where we can get in otherwise, right? You're right.
Yeah.
I said, but in truth, the only way you can guarantee to get through is to win both games. So that's all you need to think about at the moment. And then if we lose the next game, I can look at the permutations and the calculations, but you can't think about it that way. You have to think about it from
not
we have
just
to win
yet.
these games. Yeah, exactly. And then we go from there.
Yeah, because
Anyway,
even they can still go with 5 wins, right? Yeah. They can still end up with 5 wins out of 7. So they can just think about it like that and think, okay, 5 should get us to the semi-finals. So we don't need to do
5
any
wins will
permutations
easily
from
get
it.
them in, won't it?
Yeah, 5. But that's their only 3 games left, right? They can win.
Well,
They can
they'll
win 3
get.
out of 3 maybe.
They need to. We're going to assume they beat Bangladesh. They get to 6 points.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If they get to 6 points, New Zealand need to win all 3 games to go past 6 points.
Yeah.
Right. So New Zealand, as I said, it's an easier run home for New Zealand. So that is possible. And New Zealand have a terrible net run rate at the moment. Again, they could fix that. But New Zealand only need a close game against one of those other sides or a loss. So it could just come down to that New Zealand-India game as the, quarterfinal, we'll call it?
Yeah, probably that. So Jared, I think we'll just take a couple of super chats and then we can end the show. Yeah. So
Do you want me to do it? Can you do it?
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah. So what is the best batting partnership of all time according to you? Lentils asks.
I don't know. In the history of the game, it's probably...
Is it an innings or like batting pair?
I thought he meant like in one particular game. In one particular game, it's, I think the Dravid Laxman one takes a lot.
Yeah, that has to be up there, right?
Yeah. I mean, for brutality as well, you probably throw in Bairstow and Stokes in Cape Town or wherever it was.
Yeah, but that was a drawn game. I would actually say one of the baseball games might have been more interesting. Even Root and Bairstow in that Edgbaston chase was pretty nuts.
I was going to say,
2022.
I mean, you could also put in the, the Kusal and the Stokes ones if you wanted. There's one that I remember, which isn't very famous, which is Angelo Matthews, Rangana Harath at Headingley as well, which I thought was just an epic.
2014?
Yeah, I think so. Somewhere around then, certainly. There's a couple of great Bradman ones as well, and there's also the Greenwich. Well, the Greenwich Haynes one is interesting, isn't it? Because does Haynes get run out or?
Is it the game where they chase down runs at Lords? Are you referring to that one?
Yeah, there's a
Greenwich
great
gets a double.
I'm pretty sure there's a great partnership. But if you want to know, what I think could have been the greatest partnership of all time, it's when Barry Richards and Viv Richards played together for the what is it? The rest of the world team against Australia. It's worth going and having a look at that partnership, because what you have there is not just 2 players batting, but batting specifically to show the other one who's the best in the world. And they're both near their, one's near their peak and the other one is the old guy trying to prove his worth. So it's probably the most important innings of Barry Richards' life, because everyone saw it and most of them they didn't. And him outscoring Viv Richards is him just saying, guys, you need to know. And I think we've had one-up partnerships before, but I don't know if we've ever had a situation where the world's greatest batters have never batted before together, and then suddenly they're doing that in that sort of situation.
Yeah, I think a more recent example would obviously be AB and Kohli for RCB. I mean, that's also 2 pretty big names batting together. Obviously, I mean, we know that AB is a better T20 bat and everything, but just the 2 big names playing together. Gale, you can throw them in as well. Just those 3 playing together. For women's cricket, what would be your pick?
Oh,
Lanning Healey at some point?
I was kind of thinking Lanning Healey in that sort of that their kind of respective peaks is probably the one that comes to mind first. Yeah, I think that's probably the one that I would sort of default to. Because you've got, I suppose Bates and Devine is the other one, isn't it? If you're looking at, that, because they were so important to their team. There was also that period where Taylor and Dotton are probably right up there too, just for impact, like, their ability to change a game so quickly together.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting ones there. I think then he has another question, which is about how you should do videos with first umpire for India, Australia. I think you can expand on this.
Yeah, no, I mean, Deepak are working together at the moment. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, everyone. But there is a partnership, or it's more than a partnership at this stage. There's a business that we've all started together and that we're working towards. We'll announce it when we can, but yes, there's going to be no issue. I'll be doing lots of stuff with Deepak in the future.
Nice. Yeah, I think people would have really liked the 2 episodes that you did on the art of batting, because even Deepak is like this really nerdy guy and he goes really deep into the stuff. I think I've also come across some of his content. I think he's pretty good. I haven't had a chance to follow that much, but for the first umpire and cricket with JB, these are the 2 guys of late that I've really liked on YouTube, I would say. From the Indian
I think both of them are really interesting, and it could be possible, Sharan, that they're also involved in this proposal that we're talking about. So,
that would be good.
So, look, no, I think those guys are great. There's, I've been on some good podcasts recently as well. So, spread the love where you can. And hopefully what we're trying to get is, it doesn't really work at the moment, but the collab feature on YouTube, so that when I'm on someone else's podcast, you can see it. And then we can share it there as well. So, hopefully eventually we'll get to the point where a lot of the podcasts I do will be other people's podcasts rather than just me having to drive them and everything else. But anyway, I've got to go and finish this Elise Perry piece. And have you finished your piece for the day? Have you filed?
Yeah, I filed both my pieces for Best of Cricket. So I'm good there. Go follow that as well, guys. That's also like...
Oh yeah, Best of Cricket, definitely.
Yeah. They're doing,
how often do you write? Are you writing every 2 or 3 days for them?
So I've written 4 pieces for them so far, and I've done a couple more today. So let's see how it all adds up. So roughly like around 1 piece every 2 days types. Yeah.
It's really doing well. Like we're covering the women's games obviously, but not at full tilt for many different reasons. As I said, one of them is the business side of things at the moment, just because I'm busy with other things. But we've actually ended up doing heaps of feature videos. So we have a couple of third innings as well. So we've done fine. But Best of Cricket's doing a great job. The kind of stuff that we do, right? Like, talking about the game in a smart way, go ahead over there. And they used to be a sponsor. They're not sponsoring, so I didn't get paid for that.
Yeah. All right then. Bye-bye, guys. Take care. This was a good chat. Loved it. Bye-bye.
This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now.